Hi guys, welcome back to another video on Pinkman Solutions, and in this video we'll continue our RAD building project, also called the C2 aka a command and control server. So in the previous video we discussed the architecture of this entire project, how the communication will happen between different entities, our victim client and mid client and the main C2 server, and how we are going to implement it using gRPC API. All those things we discussed in the last video. We also wrote our proto file and generated the protobuf and the gRPC code. So if you remember, we ran one command for generating our Go code for gRPC and protobuf, something like this, proto C -i. So there's an update in that command. So if you are like me, we're running the latest version of protobuf, I mean the protobuf compiler, so which is 3.6.1.3. Then so there's an update in the command syntax. So now you have to give two things separately. One is -- go out and another is -- go grpc _ out. So one is for generating the go code for protobuf, and other is for generating the Golang code for the gRPC stuff. So you have to give these two flags explicitly, and the other thing which I have added is for nothing but saying that our code is a source path relative for nothing else, and then eventually we give our embed.proto file. So don't worry, I'm going to run through these steps of generating the code again. I have deleted the old code, so which we generated using the proto C. I'm going to generate it again, and so we'll write the Go code for a C2 server today. So without any further ado, let's get started. So this is my terminal here. I'm in the C2 gRPC directory. One more update here is that I have moved the embed.proto file from embed folder to C2 gRPC API folder. That's because inside this embed folder I'm going to create the embed client, which is this piece over here. This piece, the victim client or the embed client, and other is the client, so which is our admin client here. Then eventually we have a server where we are going to write code today, and then we have the embed.proto, which contains all the proto definitions and the RPC method interfaces. So I'm going to generate the gRPC code again using the proto compiler. But before that, there's one more update. So last time, if you remember, we got some warning related to go package. So in order to avoid that, so we can add this option here. We saying option go package and our package name, fully qualified package name. So what this does is it marks a package in this URL. But before that, you have to do one more thing. You have to define your Go module. So I'm going to run this command called go mod init pinkman rat. So it says already exists because I've already ran it, and then I'm going to run go mod tidy, but it says all matched no packages, since we don't have a go code as of yet. So that's why our go mod id command didn't work. But now I'm going to uncomment this line and generate our go code using the proto compiler. For that I'm going to run the command, the same command so which I showed you here in the diagram. No such file. Okay, I have to be in the C2 gRPC API folder and then run this command again. So as you can see, it ran successfully without any issues. If I go back and see, so all this, so we have error because all this packages don't exist for our project. So I'm going to run this go mod tidy again. It says go finding module for package everything and downloading stuff. It's added now for our project, and as you can see, all our errors are gone now. and we have two generated file, one for the a protobuf where we have our message struct definition, command, and the related stuff, and the other file which has our gRPC related code in Golang. So you don't have to worry about the code as of now. And so yeah, so now we have generated our protocode and we have initialized our module also. We don't have any errors, we are good. Now we are all set to write our server code. So I'm going to create a new file here called server.go. Let's say package main, because this is in itself is a server in itself and it's going to run as a separate entity, so we'll say package main. So now first of all, as you always know, we'll write up mobile applet. We declared our main package and then we are going to import few things. The first and the foremost is going to be our C2 gRPC API. So that's where this Pinkman rat module will come handy. So you don't have to give any relative path or anything. You just would declare your module, so which we created using the go mod init command, and then give the C2 gRPC API. Then we are going to use gRPC server, so we need to import that as well. google.golang.org-grpc. So we imported these two. Now to keep the concerns separate for embed server and the admin server, we are going to create two struct definition. So one is going to be embed server struct type, and here we need to have two channels. So this will have two channels, one is work, another one is the output. So this work is where we will send our, so this work is where we'll receive the work from the C2 server, work as in the commands from the C2 server, and the output is where we'll send the command output to the gRPC server, I mean the C2 server. So these two channels we are going to create of type C2 gRPC API dot command. Okay, now if you created the, again if you generated this go code for protobuf and the gRPC using the latest version of Proto-C, then the next line which I'm going to write is important for you, so otherwise you'll get some error. So there's a mandate of embedding this in your interface, I mean your structure definition, which is C2 gRPC API unimplemented embed server. So you have to write this line if you are on the latest version of Proto-C, otherwise you can ignore this. So the reason I also don't know so why they have added it, but what this is something what they say for the backward compatibility. So yeah, you just have to add this line if you are on the latest version of Proto-C. Now we define another struct definition for admin server. So we are going to say type admin server struct, and same we are going to have work and output channel here as well of type C2 gRPC API command, same, and also same thing applies here, gRPC API dot unimplemented admin server. So we have so we are done with the structure definition. Now we are going to write two helper functions for creating our embed server. Okay, so those two helper function, so we'll take this structure type and create an object out of it. So func new embed a server, then this will take input as two channels, work and output. EC command, then in return it will return the embed server, so which is this essentially, and then we are going to write the actual function definition. So it's going to be fairly simple. So we'll create a new object of type embed server, done, and then we are going to say s.work equal to whatever we passed in this function. We'll simply paste it, sorry, then s.output, that also whatever we passed here in the function, we'll use it directly, and done. So we are done. Now we just return this newly created object out of this type definition. Similarly, we are going to write the same thing for admin server. So I'm just going to copy paste this and rename the function name, say admin, and here it's going to be of type admin server, done, new admin server, done. So till now we created our embed server type, admin server type. Inside that we have two channels, work and output, same thing. The reason for doing this separately is to separate the admin API from the admin client API, so that by mistake we cannot access admin API from the embed client or vice versa. Then we created to helper function to initialize our admin server object using the work and output channel passed to the function. That's done. Now we are going to implement the RPC methods for our admin server. So we are going to implement all three: get command, send result, and execute command one by one. So let's start with the get command RPC method here. So we'll say func. So this will be attached to object of type embed server. So we are saying essentially any object of type embed server can call get command on themselves. So we'll say get command ctx. So this is a context, the request context received from gRPC, and then if you see the embed.proto, get command accepts an empty argument and returns a command. So we'll say empty of type c2 gRPC gRPC API dot empty. Now you might be wondering why we have two arguments here, essentially because in the RPC definition we have only one, empty, but here if you see we have declared two. Why is that? Well, that's because RPC frame, the gRPC framework in Golang itself accepts this by default. So this is done for ourselves by default. We don't have to mention this here in the proto file. So that's how the gRPC for Golang works. So we have to declare this while implementing the method. So it's like gRPC framework spares us from defining that explicitly in the proto file. So it's there for all the RPC methods by default. So we created get command. In return we are going to get, if we see the proto definition here, a command. So we'll say we'll say pointer to c2 grpc dot command and error if there is any. So these two things are by default added in the RPC for definition for ourselves, RPC interface for definition. So we don't have to add this explicitly. So this context is essentially contains information related to a request from the client, and this error, if we receive any, if we get any, if we encounter any error on the server side, so we return it as an error object back to the client. So these two are there by default, and what this is from our RPC method. Now we are going to implement the actual body. So in this body, what we are going to do, first we'll define the variable a command, and we'll say new c2 grpc dot command. So now we have a command, a variable of type c2 grpc command. So now what we are going to do is we'll enter a select statement. So this is inside the select statement, but we'll have two cases. We'll say command okay, so which is a flag, and then we are going to block on this s.work. So what this means is on this object, so on which we have called our get command method, we are going to block until we receive some work on this work channel. Okay, and as soon as we receive something, we are going to hit this case, and we'll say if okay means everything is okay, we received some work on this channel, we'll return it simply command, and error is nil. So this will be called from client, our client here. If you see the, so this is our victim client. So this our victim client is continuously going to poll for commands by calling get command on this c2 grpc server. So as soon as we have some command on this work channel, as soon as we have some command on this work channel, we are going to return it. Okay, and our client is going to receive that command and execute it. So that is done. Now in case we don't have anything, so what we'll do, so the default case we have to also define in the default case, which is where we don't have any work to do. So we'll say command nil, no error. But here, if this OK flag means there is some error while waiting for some work on this channel, we'll return command whatever we received, and then new error dot new have to be capital, and then channel error. Okay, so we have created a get command here. So this is showing some error, string package error string should not be capitalized. Okay, so our error package is imported automatically, and the context package as well. Okay, so we have defined our get command method here. Now let's define the send result. So similarly, I'm going to create one more for embed server, and we'll say get result. Again, a context we have to pass. This time if you see, the RPC signature, we pass a command and receive empty. So again we'll say command or cmd for short of type c2 gRPC API command, and then in return we receive pointer to c2 gRPC dot command. This is going to be empty, so I'm so sorry. Then so whatever we receive, I mean on this object, we are going to say s dot output, because we want to get the result from the I mean we want to, so it's going to be send result, not get result. Let me change the name here. So when we say send result, we want to send our command output, so which we ran on the client side here. So when we ran the command successfully on our victim client after getting the command from c2 server using the get command method here, once it is executed successfully, we want to send the result back to the c2 server. So for that, our client is going to call get command and pass the result in this where is that result? Okay, in this command here. So I can rename this to result. So in this result object, so which is of type command, we will have our command output, and we can simply pass it to the channel on which this embed server is called, object of embed server, and then we'll pass the result to our output channel and we return it. The return type, as you know, is empty and error. So we'll say c2 address of c2 empty, then nil for error. So we defined our get command and send result, both the methods, both the RPC. Now we have to create our third RPC, which is execute command, and this time it is on admin admin server. So let me create one more. We'll say s, this time it's going to be admin server, and the name is, let me copy execute command. This will take again the context which is common for all our gRPC RPCs, and let's see what is the argument. So we pass a command and return we get the command, and this command, so which we pass, will contain the input, and this return command will have the output string. So we'll say command of type c2 grpc dot command, and in return we have command again and error, which is common for all RPCs. Then let's implement the body. In the body, what we have to say is first, so let me define the results which we are going to return. Result is going to be of type c2 grpc command. So this is essentially this part which we are going to return from this method. Now this result, so first we have to so whenever we call this execute command for our from our admin client here, so what we are saying is we are passing some command to this c2 server, and then we are getting some response back to the admin client in the form of output. So this command which we received here is the result, so which we will receive, and the other thing, so which we pass here, is the command which we want to pass to the c2 server. So for that we'll create a go routine and call it immediately. This go routine will say s.work, so which is our admin server here. Admin server where we will have the work channel. On that we will pass our command here, so which is work created on the admin client side, and then we'll call it immediately here. Once done, so this is a blocking call. As soon as we call this, it will pass, since this is an unbuffered channel. If there is already some work on this channel here, this call will block here. So that's why we have created a go routine out of this, and we'll get the result from the output channel. From the output channel we'll get the result in this variable here, and we return this variable back to our admin client, and the error will be nil. So yeah, so all the complexity which I talked in the previous video, it's already, so we have already coded that in this 3 RPCs: get command, send result, and execute command. So now most of the complex stuff done. Let's write our main method. In the main method we are simply going to create 2 listening ports, 2 listeners, and on those 2 listeners we are going to initialize our 2 gRPC server, one for the embed server and another for the admin server. So let's do that quickly. It's not that hard to do that. You just need to know the gRPC syntax for doing that. So we are going to create 2 listeners. One is embed listener, and other is the admin listener, admin listener here. Net dot listener of type net dot listener type. Okay, we have used this in our previous videos. If you are not aware of this package, a net package, then please watch our initial videos on the Black Hat Go series. Then we are going to define an error variable and options for gRPC server. So this comes from gRPC package. Then we are going to define 2 channel, work and output. So we define them of type chan and c2 gRPC command. Now all our variable declaration is done. Now let's create those 2 channels, work and output. So we call make channel c2 gRPC command. Other is also the same. The first one is created. Let me create another, make chan. So we created 2 channels. For embed we create new embed server using our helper method, and we pass the channels which we created in the previous line. Similarly we'll create admin server with new admin server helper method, and we pass the same channel, work and output. So that's how these 2 servers are connected. So this C2 server have 2 channels and connecting this embed client, I mean the victim client, to the admin client through these 2 channels of work and output. So that's how the pipeline is working, and this pipeline will help sending the command across the admin client to the victim client, and the response along the same path using these 2 work and output channels. If you see this, again I'm explaining this. The result is sent on the output channel, and the same output channel receives the response on the admin side. Same goes for work. So we send the work here on the work channel, and our get command will be listening on the same work channel and get the command and return it to the admin side. So that's how the pipeline is working. Now let me start the embed listener and the admin listener. So for that I'm going to say embed listener error, and I'm going to start a new TCP listener, listen, net.listen, and this is going to be of type TCP. Then I'm going to say format.sprintf for the local host server. So for this POC I'm going to run everything on local host, but this can be anywhere in the remote as well. So let's define some port for this embed server. Let's say 4445. Then this is done. Or then I'm going to say error not equal to nil. So all this is a Go syntax. So where we are first creating our embed listener, and then we are also checking if error is not equal to nil. Then we'll if it is not nil, then it means something happened, something wrong happened while creating our server. So we'll say log dot fatal, and we'll output the error. So this is just a shorthand of doing these two things on the same line. We're declaring the listener and then capturing the, or checking the error for nil. So I'll do the same thing for admin listener. I'll copy it. And the port is going to be different. So let's say 99995. Admin listener, everything is same. Yeah. So we have started our two listener. Now we need to pass this listener to gRPC's server. So for that I'm going to say two. So I'm going to create two new gRPC server. One is gRPC admin server, other is gRPC embed server, and for that you have to say gRPC dot new server. So that's how you create a gRPC server, and you pass the options, which is nothing what we declare here, ops. We are going to destructure it, and then same thing for gRPC dot new server, and here also we'll say ops. So now we have two server objects created, gRPC server objects. Now we need to register our these servers here using these objects. So in the next line, so we have to write two more lines, and then we are done. So we'll say C2 gRPC API dot register. Now we are registering our admin server first. So this is from this package here, C2 gRPC API, so which we generated here. So we are saying, so essentially we want to register our admin server where we implemented our RPC methods with this one. So first we are talking about admin. So our RPC method is this. So we implemented this on our admin server object, which is of type this admin server, and we created here our admin server. So we'll pass this. So we'll pass two things here. First is our gRPC admin server, and the server on which we implemented our RPCs, which is our this object here. So don't worry about this for syntax here. This you can find on Google, how to create a gRPC server. So I'm just telling you the main focus of our implementation here on this RPCs. So if you understand this, so that is enough. Okay, similarly we'll do for c2 gRPC API dot for register. Now we are going to register our embed server. Then we'll pass this gRPC server created above, and then we'll pass this embed object. So done, we have registered our embed server. Now the final thing which we have to do is we have to start listening for the RPCs. For that, what we have to do, we have to do gRPC embed server dot serve, and we are going to pass our listener here. So now we are telling our gRPC server here to listen on this port, I mean on this listener, which is our embed listener which we created. Till now we didn't use this. Final step is to use this like this here. Since we are going to create two servers on the C2 server side, so first one is done, so we are going to run it separately on a different go routine, and another one outside this gRPC admin server dot serve, and we'll pass our admin listener. Done. Okay, so now we have written everything for our C2 server. I know it's a long video, but if you followed carefully and understood everything, then it's nothing. So let me just cover the entire file again. It's just 96 lines of code. So first we created our two structure types of embed server and admin server, on which we are going to define we are going to define our RPC methods. Then we created two helper methods to create the server objects, admin server, embed server. So what this method is doing, or nothing, just we're taking the channels as input, I mean the arguments, and then creating a new object of this type, and then assigning this channels as dot work, as dot output, same here, and then we are returning this structure object. Then the main part comes where we define our RPCs on this newly created structure objects. So we are saying on this object of type embed server, we are defining get command, and it takes this by default, as we know. Then we are taking so what we have defined in the proto file, empty, you can see here as well, empty of type c2 gRPC API, and then we are returning command. Inside this, what we are doing is we create a new variable of type command, and then we are waiting for some work on this s.work channel. As soon as we get some work, we return it. So this get command will be called by the admin client, the victim client. So victim client will continuously poll for commands by calling this get command RPC, and as soon as we have some work on the C2 server, it will be returned to the victim client like this return command. And on the C2 server side, we are waiting for command on this work channel. Then we have the send result. So as soon as we have a result on our victim side, we want to send it back to the C2 server. So we have this result here passed in as argument to this RPC, and then we want to send it to the output channel where our admin server is listening. Okay, here you can see admin server is listening for the output on this output channel, and we sent it from the admin victim client. So then we return nothing, empty message, fine, and execute command RPC में you can see we are taking the command as input argument and then returning the command. So this input will have the work defined, and this will have the output. So we create a new variable res, which is result. Then we wait for some work. So we send the command on this work channel, so which will be taken up by this get get command. So we are sending here some work and the client will receive work on this channel. Then we are taking the result from the output channel and returning it back to the admin client. Then in the main method we have just written the boilerplate code for starting the gRPC server. So we created two channels and we created two embed server objects using this helper method, and we passed the same work and output channel to both of this, so that our admin client and the victim client are connected through these channels. And then we started two net listeners on this port. We created a listener object, and then we created our gRPC server objects using this gRPC new server method. Then we registered these two methods by passing the first gRPC server object and then the server new embed server and the new admin server objects, where we defined our RPCs like this. Once that is done, we just start our server calling the serve method on embed and the admin server by passing the listeners. That's it. Now let us see if this runs successfully or we encounter some errors. First let me go to the server, go run server. Okay, so we didn't get any error. That means it ran successfully. The reason we didn't get anything because we haven't printed anything here. So if you want, you can just add few lines here saying started the C2 server for admin and victim client embed, or let's say embed client. Okay, so this since this is a blocking call, so that's why we need to write this before starting the serve command, because as soon as we call the serve, it waits for some commands on this channels. So that's why we created one coroutine to start two servers, one for the embed listener, another for the admin listener. So that's how we created our server today. And in the next video we are going to create two clients, one the admin client and the victim client. Those are going to be fairly simple. The work of the admin client is to poll for commands from the C2 server, executed locally, and then send the result back. And the admin client is also simple. There we just need to send a command from the command line and accept the result and print it. That's it. So the client part is going to be fairly simple, so which we'll code in the next video. Till then, see you. Once we implement the entire project, it's up to you how you want to take it forward and add more features to this RAD server, C2 server. It's up to you. So we can define more RPCs here, like taking screenshot, getting the clipboard, or anything, and you can implement it here and then expand the functionalities of this C2 server. So it's up to you how you take it forward. So for this simplicity, I'm just trying to implement minimalistic things so that you get the hang of it and know how the C2 server and the RAD works. So yeah, that's it for now. See you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.